And I wish you guys could see yourselves in the background dancing to that song and singing. It's really pretty cute. But you can't see it. I have to record it. Hi, everyone. Welcome for joining. Welcome and thank you for joining us on our Sunday gathering for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. I've actually had a lot of coffee today, so I'm talking really fast, and I'll have to try to slow that down because I'm definitely good on the caffeine today. Man, people are excited. I'm looking at the comments and everyone's really excited to hear from Pierre and Giles today. So thank you both for being our special guests. And I love when people haven't met, because I think there's some really great partnerships around the world that are forming from this. And I think you two will be one of those for sure. Let's do some quick check-ins, real quick check-ins before we get ourselves grounded. Deb Cruz, how are you? The robot Deb Cruz. Deborah, how are you? Deborah is muted.
I am muted.
No, now you are. There you go.
My pen is in my hand. My ears are open, mouth shut, ready to learn some stuff. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Casey and Stephanie?
Happy Sunday from the land of 10,000 lakes. Glad to be here.
Christina.
Listen to what you guys have to say about these orcas and stuff. So I'm really interested. And thanks for having me.
Awesome. And Alejandro?
Happy Sunday to everyone.
Swimming. There he is. That's him swimming, if you guys can't tell what he's doing.
Is it raining?
No.
Yes.
Yeah. And Howard, how are you today?
Pretty good. I'm just back this morning from 10 days over in the Elwha Valley, and it's a lovely day, and I'm looking forward to today's program.
Me too. Looks like Giles fell off, but she will definitely be jumping back on. Pierre, I know it's late. Thank you so much for joining us today for this important conversation. I couldn't think of anyone better to have on when we're talking about this than someone who does spend so much time with orcas in the wild. So Pierre, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much, guys. It's 10 p.m. here, and it's raining outside. I'm on my terrace, and everything is okay. So
great. Well, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, it's okay.
we'll let Giles come back on, but let's get ourselves centered today. So if you guys feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. You don't have to, but I'm just going to play some music in the back, and it's Shirley Bob, and she's singing the song that she sang to Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut at her last cultural visit, and or the first cultural visit with her, and it's called "Look at Me," and it's important for us to remember why we're gathered here every week. So let's just sit in silence during this song and get ourselves centered in the way that you do best.
Langit kerja penitam tiap, langit kerja istana tiap, Nithlens jalangan tiap, Nithlens jalangan tiap.
All right. Thank you.
Oh.
Guys. Thank you. Yeah, that's one way to get me to just relax. So we thank Shirley Bob for letting us use her songs every week for our show. Giles, quick check-in. How are you?
Yeah, sorry I dropped off there. My internet's unstable. I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me again this Sunday. Nice to see everybody.
It's good to have you on here. We have a ton of people watching live right now. So I think, given the recent news and the more recent news and the more media hype that this topic is getting about these orcas, quote unquote, attacking boats, getting a bad rap. And what's interesting, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but the people who have actually had their vessels damaged, had to be back in, those people are saying, hey, we got to do something to protect these orcas. And so, it's one of those things, you can't always believe the media, except for TokiTV. You can believe us if you want. But really, I mean, sometimes it just gets so hyped up, and that's concerning because that can bring a lot of harm to these orcas. So when I was telling Howard, this is a good topic for today. Howard's been sending me a bunch of articles, and even just this past couple of days, a bunch has come out. So Howard, is there anything you want to say to preface this before we turn this over to the experts for their discussion?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really prepared anything, but I'm really glad to hear that at least some of the people that have been on the boats that were damaged, impacted, we could say, have a lot of empathy for the orcas. I feel like that's so important, and it's really kind of amazing when you think about it. I mean, it'd be a little bit traumatic and scary, but at the same time, to have your boat disabled. You don't know if it's going to be sunk. But they were picking up on something from the whales, I think, that this isn't meant to harm necessarily. I mean, it's that they have some empathy for the whales. They were on the same wavelength with the whales, and that is encouraging. And I hope that message gets out. So I'm very thankful for them for saying that.
Sebastian, I'm not going to pronounce his last name right, but I'm going to try. Justamau. He's saying, the problem we have is that media are emphasizing the aggression, and so people are getting armed. They're getting their shotgun on board their boat, And he also said, "I'm very concerned about the near future for these beasts, and I think we have a huge responsibility to protect these animals." This is from someone who had that experience, which I have videos and all that kind of stuff. We'll show you guys in a while, just so you can see what they're doing. But let's check in with you first, Giles. You're keeping up with all this. What are your thoughts?
It's just such a curious phenomenon. I too have been heartened to hear some of the folks that have had interactions calling for certainly, patience with the whales, not wanting to be reactive in a negative way to harm them. And so that's been, of course, really good. That was an early worry, of course. As far as like what they're doing, all I can do is like many of us in this area have done is liken it to the whales here, the situation here, and the fact that if really, to be blunt, if any population had a reason to become target boats in a way that is negative and be aggressive in a actual harmful way, it would have been the southern residents and the Biggs killer whales in this part of the world, given what they went through. And yet, even as they were multiple times taken into a capture situation, netted off, and separated from their family, and then watched family members being taken out of the wild, or in the most brutal case was the case of Moby Doll, who was a young killer whale up off of Saturna Island, who was harpooned and didn't die, and whose mother was shot in front of him. It turned out to be a male, we believe, J-pod animal. Even he, after being harpooned and drugged back from across the Strait of Georgia, he wasn't aggressive to humans. And so I really feel like there's something else going on here. I've seen some, really what I describe as like it's heart-stopping video that Ken Balcom had years ago with whales underneath a speedboat. It wasn't his boat, but somebody else's boat was videoing underneath. And, these whales were just right along the prop wash with their noses almost touching the spinning propeller, and just taking turns and seemingly having a fantastic time under the boat. And so it really makes me feel like it's something like that that's going on, that these animals are drawn to the keel of sailboats, forward moving sailboats. Another thing that really makes me feel like this is certainly not an aggressive thing towards the humans is whenever the boats have become disabled to the point where people have to be offloaded onto smaller boats, the whales are breaking the behavior and swimming off. And so all of those things lead me to believe, and also knowing the whales in this area as I do, I think that it's a fun thing for whatever reason. It's a fun thing for the whales. It is probably terrifying for the humans, but if the whales wanted to harm somebody, they absolutely, have the capacity to, and yet they're not.
Thank you. And Destromau also said that the exact same thing. You know, he was on there, and while it might seem frightening, they know their power, and had they wanted to sink them, they would have. You know, clearly, they have the ability to do that. Pierre, what are your thoughts? You spend time with lots of orcas in the wild and then in a different part of the world. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, actually, my experience is mostly in Norway. I haven't dived with orcas in other places in the world. This population of orcas, what we know is that they are living around the Iberic Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, from the southwest of France down to the Gibraltar Strait. And they are, most of the time, they are known to feed on the tuna. This is what we know. It's one thing to try to understand the reason why they are doing this. But, and I must say, we are all speculating. I'm just wondering. I've been listening to Giles, and yeah, I would be close to this explanation. I exclude also aggressivity. I exclude any predation training or motivation, because it would come from the adults of the group, not from the young. You know, the orcas, they are mammals. And all mammals, they are learning social interaction, hunting strategy. They are learning when they are young by playing. And we know that it's young orcas that started this behavior. So if I refer to my experience of diving with orcas, most of the time, it's the young female coming to interact with a social motivation. And the adults, meanwhile, they try to take the young guys playing with us back to the group. We are busy, we have to find food, we have to feed on the prey. So, and you know, no matter the species, the adults, they are always taking back to the reality the young playing. And for me, I think that all started with a game motivated by extreme curiosity. You know, if you are an orca and if you are swimming underneath a sailing boat and you see that this part of the boat which is moving like this, the rudder, when it's turning in the right, the boat is moving in the right. When it's moving in the left, the boat is turning to the left. And I think it started like this. Grab this, break it. What happens? Oh, the boat stops. I do something and it has a result. So I think it started as a game. But for a reason I don't know, this game has not been regulated by adults, and it became a habit. And now there is many cases of incidents involving this population of orcas, maybe more than 100 in 3 years. And now we can say that it's systematic. They are systematically targeting the sailing boat, always sailing boat, small sailing boat, same profile. And they are breaking the rudder until they sink the boat sometimes. But when the boat is sunk and when the people are with the safety jacket floating in the water, they stop. So we can say they are attacking the boat, but they are not attacking humans on the boat. So still, it's a very important problem because, you know, in this water, especially in the Gibraltar Strait, it's a highway for the big tanker. And if a sailing boat cannot maneuver, the big boat will not turn. It's very dangerous. So I understand also the skippers that can be scared by this behavior. So the most important thing now is what to do, what to say to the skipper, what can be the message. Do we have a solution to avoid this behavior? Because again, this behavior now, it's quite systematic, and it's not only one family, but it has been taught to other families, and it's almost all the population of orcas around Spain and Portugal that are doing this now. So yeah, very big problem, and big problem for the skippers that can be very dangerous for the reason I said before, and also a big problem for the orcas, because of course we know how the humans are fixing the conflict with the wildlife. So, and we have to protect this population. So maybe we can brainstorm and try to imagine what can be the solution to avoid this behavior. Just guys, up to you. We can speak about that.
Yeah, in reading a bunch of articles, I saw, and I'm not going to remember which one because I've been reading so many, but they were saying they were trying to drop sand in the water because that's supposed to do something with their echolocation. I'm not sure, I didn't, like I said, I read a bazillion articles, but they were trying that to see if I could get them to deter them from going after the rudder, and that didn't work.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't believe 100%. I didn't believe it could have an effect, because in one side you have orcas. They are fully focused on the rudder and almost hypnotized, and they are ultra motivated to break this part of the boat. And you propose something that can be a light disturbance that will not stop orcas. Of course not. So yeah, I have advice to maybe when the sailing boat spots the orca pod swimming from far, to put down the sail and stop the boat, maybe. But it seems that it has been tried and it's not the solution. So I don't know.
I was curious about that because that's also listed in a bunch of the articles is just stop, because when the boat stops, they don't resume as much. But I think from the ones I've seen, once they've kind of, like you said, set their sights on this game, they kind of hang out. And Howard sent me something just recently. They escorted a boat all the way back to port. Howard, do you remember the details of that article?
Yeah, I've seen this. Sorry.
Sure. Well, maybe you know more than I do, because I just saw this brief article that just said that the rescue towboat came out and got a line on the disabled sailboat and towed it into port, and that the orcas were nearby, that they were accompanying, parallel with it, not doing any more damage, but watching what happens when you damage a boat. Maybe, I don't know. It was interesting behavior, but I don't know what it tells us. Maybe they're more invested in what they're doing, in the results of what they're doing. I am curious to look at it on a kind of a population level. From what I understand, the Gibraltar or Iberian orcas are severely endangered, are down to maybe a couple of dozen. I think the last real population survey was several years ago, and they were at about 30 or 35. Is that about right, Pierre? Have you heard that?
The information I have, first thing, I'm not in contact with the scientists working with this population, but I have seen some paper, and they are doing a great job. If I'm right, we are speaking about 70, 80 orcas, but the place is very big, so it's a small population. Of course, if they are feeding on the tuna, the less tuna you have, the less orca it will be, because they will adapt the population to the level of the food. So
right.
Yeah, it's a small population anyway, because it means maybe 4 plus minus something, 4 families. It's a small population, and they are in danger. It's a place where there is a very important boat traffic. Gibraltar is a highway for the super tanker, this big boat with containers and stuff like that. And there is a lot of sailing boat, a fishing boat, Spanish fishermen and Moroccan fishermen. They are fishing the tuna there. So they are in contact almost all the time with population, with boats, with people. So maybe it's one of the reasons why they
Well, from what I understand, they depend on the bluefin tuna, much like southern residents depend on Chinook salmon. I don't know if they have any other side dishes, but they basically, for their nutritional sustenance, they depend on the bluefin, and the bluefin have been decimated. As I understand, they were nearly driven extinct, and then there was a complete prohibition on catching them to allow the population to come back a little bit, and it did, but now there is fishing on that. Maybe it's more regulated so that they're not completely extirpated, but they're kept at a very low level. And the fishing industry basically is taking most of them all the time, maybe leaving enough to keep the population alive, but nearly wiping out the bluefin tuna, which means that those orcas are starving a lot of the times. I wish we had the kind of research there that we have here.
Mhm.
The photo ID work so that every individual is ID'd every year for one thing, but also the poop studies to be able to measure all these hormones and really be able to see how are they doing, how is their stress, how are their reproductive hormones. If we could get the kind of data that the poop sniffing dog studies have been able to gather here, that have shown that the southern residents are losing their young before they're born or shortly after. They just can't carry a fetus and they can't nurse a baby. So that's a severe problem here, and from the sound of it, it's probably just as severe there. So they're in some serious desperation, I would think, on a fairly regular basis. And I see some tie-in, some correlation there.
Giles? Anything you want to add on that point, Giles?
No, I totally agree with Howie. That would be fantastic to have those that information. Looking at stress hormones, nutrition hormones, things like that in the population would be amazing.
It really would be helpful. But we don't have that, so we kind of have to extrapolate. But basically, that lack of food, that's sort of the common denominator that is the causative factor for what you've seen, and what Sam Wasser's studies and the whole conservation biology and now your studies are showing, that they are probably starving. And I would imagine, and I've seen a few media reports that indicate that the fishing boats definitely do hit back. They have rifles on board. They'll shoot them. So they can't really go near the fishing boats. I mean, that's a big assumption on my part, but I'm thinking that they just, that they know they can't do that. If they try to disable a fishing boat, somebody's going to get shot. I think they probably assume that. I mean, I've seen just hints at that, but of course it's not reported. So it just happens out there when nobody's looking. I just wonder, are they giving us a message? Are they trying to say this is not tenable, people? This is not sustainable. We can't survive this. And can we do something? I don't know. They're very intelligent animals, of course, and they're very aware. Their situational awareness is hyper. They know what's going on, and I think they and associate the fishing with the lack of fish. They see their fish being yanked out of the water. And you know, they operate on well, okay, I'll go out on a limb here, because my perpetual problem is that my education is in sociology, not biology. And of course, sociology is only about humans, on the assumption that only humans use language and have culture. But in 2001, Luke Rendell and Hal Whitehead spilled the beans that actually orcas use vocal signals to mediate their culture, and they build culture, they build traditions and systems of behavior, and they communicate that with these, you know, vocalizations that they learn just like we learn our words and our language. So they're capable of thinking symbolically. They are able to try to send a symbolic message, is what I'm saying. And maybe that's what they're trying to do. You know, they can't speak English and we can't speak whale, or their particular, whatever their repertoire of calls may be. We can't understand any of that. And, you know, they aren't going to be able to use any kind of common language. But maybe the only common language is, you know, negative attention getting, you know, I mean, pay some attention. Don't just let this happen. We're hurting out here. You know, we're desperate. Our babies are dying. We can't even have babies, you know, and we know that it's because we can't get enough food. And we know where the food is going. It's getting yanked up onto fishing boats. And that's humans. And we don't want to hurt anybody, but we want to let people know that this is serious. And I think it's really fascinating that some of the people on board, at least, are saying, are getting that message in some way, you know, that they're feeling that vibe, you know, that sort of sense of, they're not here to hurt us. They're here to tell us something. They're here to get our attention, and you know, we not only shouldn't fight back, but maybe we should pay attention to what they need, to what their situation is that is human caused.
I think that's perfect, Howard, how you're saying that, because we're all speculating, like Pierre said, right? We're all speculating here on like what is happening, because it's happening more, and so we don't know for sure, you know, if it's play. The experts are saying it seems like it is. We don't know if they're trying to send a message, but my hope is that we get a message, regardless of what their specific intentions are for doing this, that we do see that these are intelligent, like something has to be done. So even those people on board who aren't saying they think they're coming after us because we're taking their fish, what they're saying is there's something happening that's having them do this, and we need to protect them from other people who may not see it as, you know, us needing to protect them. Pierre, what are your thoughts?
I think we have to first look at the facts. And the fact is that in this place, the connection between the orcas and the local fishermen is very old. It's a very traditional fishing with small boats. They are lining the tuna, and the orcas, they used to interact with the fishing boat by taking the tuna, when the bluefin tuna are hooked, because then they don't have to swim fast to catch a tuna. It's very difficult for orcas to catch the tuna. It takes a lot of energy. And of course, the fishermen, they serve the tuna without no efforts. So actually, they are opportunistic, and they use the fishing strategy to feed on the tuna. So I don't think that they see the fishing industry, I mean, the small fishermen, like a problem. It's even more a solution for them. The thing is that it's a lot of money for the fishermen. And of course, they are not happy to see the orcas catching the tuna, because when they lift up the hook, it's just the head and the bone. So, and there are poor people, very poor people in Morocco, in south of Spain. So, they try to fight back. They try to defend themselves. And of course, they try to shoot the orcas. So, can we see in this conflict the origin of this phenomenon? Maybe. Again, I still think that it's a game. It started with a game and extreme curiosity. But this game has not been regulated by adults for any reason. Maybe the mother has been killed. We know how the humans are fixing this conflict. I know that in Norway, sometimes they kill orcas also. They don't shoot the orcas, but they catch in the net and they lift up the net, and so it is. So the fishermen, they don't care about the life of an orca. So, and it's very sad. It's very, very sad. So again, the reason, understanding the reason is one thing, but then again, we have to speak about the solution. What can we propose to the skippers? I would go in the water in this case. If I was in the boat, I would jump directly in the middle of orcas to see what's happening. I don't recommend this to anyone because it's a risk I take. There are wild animals in this place, and of course there are, in action and stuff like that, but I would go in the water. But maybe it would not be enough. Maybe they will still break the rudder. So I was just thinking about having a loudspeaker and try to make a diversion with music, with sound of other cetaceans, such as pilot whales, because I know that the pilot whales and the orcas, they hate each other. So I don't know actually, but I'm still, scratching my head and try to propose a solution to the skipper, because the reason, maybe there is a message. Maybe we all have our own explanation, and it's very difficult to have, the good explanation. I always say maybe, because I'm not sure about anything in this case. It's totally new actually. It's 3 years old. Never happened before. Why now? Why here? There is fishing boat everywhere in the world. There is a orca starting everywhere in the world, and it started right now here. And what is also very important is to monitor this behavior and to see how it will be in some months, in some years. Maybe it will stop by its own. Maybe it will even spread in the whole world. I don't know. That will be very important to monitor this.
Absolutely. And for those of you who might just be joining us, we're talking about the quote unquote attacks that are happening on some sailboats by orcas. I'm sure you've seen in the news. If people haven't seen one, I'm gonna show one. I think it's a short one, just so you guys can see what's happening. So hold on, I'm gonna do my best to do this on multiple screens here. So let's go here.
Arrancó el segundo. We lost both rudders.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, that was a really, really short one.
Yeah, that's very good. And you see, it's a young guy. Okay, it's not a full-grown orca; it's a young.
Yeah, Yep. Let me see if I can get another one on real quick. I had this on and I'm not sure why it's let's see.
Take the things and
This might be, I'm not sure. This might be the same one, you guys. Let me try it again.
Whales in the wild is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but for one British couple, it quickly became terrifying and possibly life-threatening. This video was captured just off the coast of Morocco by Janet Morris and Stephen Bidwell. They were enjoying a nap while sailing when the crew noticed a pod of orcas, also known as killer whales. But as they awoke to watch in wonderment, they noticed the pod was coming directly towards them. The marine mammals sidled up next to their boat and began ramming the hull repeatedly in an attack they say lasted an hour, with Morris saying about the encounter, quote, "Because everyone was calm, it felt okay. But we were petrified. It wasn't until afterwards that we talked about being very scared," adding that they even began collecting their valuables and passports, and even considered readying the life raft. Stephen Bidwell added that orcas love the thrill of the chase, which is why experts recommend remaining still. But the choppy conditions of the day made that impossible. During the attack, crew members lost control of the boat, realizing after limping back into port that the orcas had damaged the rudder. SWNS reports this is just the latest in a series of attacks by orcas around the world, something that is puzzling marine biologists.
All right, so there's that one too. You can tell the hype and the music and, making it
that
sound.
was a young guy again.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you guys know or have read, Pierre or Giles, about Gladys and her relationship to this? Pierre, have you? Well, White Gladys, one of the older orcas.
I have no
No?
information about that.
Okay. So there was some couple of articles and they were thinking that she may have been hit by a boat at one point and that this was her way of teaching her family how to stop these boats. I don't know how true that is, but I have heard her come up if you guys want to look her up at some point, but because it's not just her pod. So, but that was one of the theories going out there probably about a month back.
I certainly heard that theory that she was traumatized in some way, but I've never, anybody that's been asking me, any reporters that have been asking me about that in particular, I've asked them to try and seek out that source and get more information than just kind of the catchphrase that's been using that she was, whatever it was, highly traumatized or something to that effect. She does have, from photos that I saw of her, she has some sort of markings on her, but those are that's not uncommon for whales to have scratches and marks, especially if they are whales that interact with a fishery like these ones do. It's not surprising that she would have some sort of markings, but none of them that I saw looked life-threatening in any way. But that one instance that supposedly set this whole thing off, I have not been able to get any additional information about that. I agree with Pierre that I really don't think it's a retribution or a retaliatory sort of thing. It's something that one did, found it fun, and it's spread through the population.
Yeah. Again, like same thing as you. Like I hear it, but there isn't a lot of detail about when did that happen? How was she hurt? What the actual incident that they keep referring to, and so I'm not sure how valid that story is. There's a sailor. Her name is April Boys, and she and I were just messaging not too long. Well, like literally right before the show, minutes before the show, or she would have tried to come on, but she's on TikTok and she's really wanting to spread the message of just being careful on what you hear. Speaking of, really being careful on what you hear on the media, because some of what her boat was approached by these orcas as well, and actually damaged and had to be taken in. and they're making it sound, she's saying, well, I never said that I was attacked. It's a different terminology. So being careful too about how the media is portraying it. But I think she has a really sweet message. So I'm going to see if I can share that. I just put TikTok on my computer because I just use it on my phone. So let's hope it works. All right, I'm going to add here.
Now, taking myself out of the equation here, I've never wanted to portray the orcas in some of the way that these articles have, and in some of them it appears as though they've interviewed me and they haven't. Phrases such as "I was attacked by orcas." I've never said any of these things. What has happened is that we're sailors and we were sailing from the Azores to Gibraltar, and we had an interaction with these orcas. Now, unfortunately, for the boat and for us, that meant that it's now lost the rudder and there's extensive damage. But everybody's okay. Everybody's safe. We're all professional sailors, and we do also acknowledge that by going to sea, we put ourselves at risk, sometimes from rough weather. Something like this to happen is extremely rare. But it is just something that I wanted to clear up, because orcas are endangered. There are only 35 Iberian orcas left in the wild, but clearly there's a wider issue here. We need to be looking at ways that we can protect the orcas with preventative measures. As such, I have started a fundraiser now for the Marine Conservation Society. So you can donate to them either on their website or on my Instagram, April_Georgina. There is now a donate button. There is also on my highlights reel all the original videos from the evening that it happened. But if you do have any questions that you want me to answer, let me know, because some of the media have completely sensationalized what actually happened. And I don't want to come across unprofessional. I'm a professional sailor, and equally I want to make sure that the orcas are presented in the best way, and that we can find a solution that is non-harmful to the environment. Perhaps sailing areas which are safer to go through, or non-harmful methods, so that we can live in harmony. Ultimately, we're not going to leave the ocean, so how can we prevent this from happening in the best possible way?
And I have everyone muted, but I'm sure, we can clap for that. So April, I know you're watching, and it's late where you are as well. And so I appreciate you watching, and hopefully you do join us on Sunday, because we'd like to hear more about that experience. But Giles, what's your reaction to her video?
Well, I absolutely love it. I think that's exactly what folks need to hear. We are, when we're in boats, we do take our lives. We have to be respectful of the marine realm, both the just oceanographic conditions, but also the animals that are out there. We are in their living room, and finding ways to coexist is absolutely imperative, especially when there's situations that are kind of at odds with one another. People being out there wanting to sail, wanting to have that experience, probably solitarily, not in a kind of in an armada of boats, but finding solutions like Pierre's idea of playing vocalizations. I didn't realize pilot whales and killer whales are not fans of one another, but something like that might work, where it's not harmful, like shooting or seal bombs or something like that. Also having maybe some motorized escorts through the region that the whales and boats are interacting the most. Something like that might be an alternative. So yeah, I like the conversation where again, Pierre saying the reasons are interesting, but solutions are more important. Really, we need to be thinking about that as humans, and how we should be going forward, because it's humans are erratic, less predictable than most marine mammals, and so it would be good to have some sort of protocols in place sooner rather than later.
Yep, thank you.
I'm thinking about something since we see this phenomenon. A common point between the human being and the orcas. There is many common points between all two species, but I see in this a lack of education. Again, I'm still turning around this extreme curiosity and a game that was not regulated by adults. And we know that the lack of education in human being can lead to very bad behavior most of the time. Everything is decided by the education we give to the pupils, to the kids. So, I see the lack of education, like if they were hooligans, and they don't know what is good and what is not. This population, as Howard said, is starving almost to extinction, like southern resident. And when you have animals that are starving, they are motivated 200% to find food. They should be motivated only by the food. And still, they are going and they waste time to attack these boats and to break the rudder for hours. This is hours they don't go for food. It must be something very important for them. And it's not just, okay, let's go and have this. It's very important. And I still don't understand exactly the reason why. It shouldn't be that important to be now more than 100 attacks of the boat. I say attack because they attack the boat, not the human. But it's very, for me, it's fascinating because it's so surprising. If you asked me before it started, I would bet it will never happen. And now, 3 years later, it's hundreds of these cases. I say, shit, sorry for this, but I'm just, in one way, I'm smiling because, of course, it's only money, only plastic. There is no victims. Maybe only orcas are victims. But it's really strange, really strange. Let's see how it will evolve in the future and what it will bring us. But as you say, Giles, yes, we are all looking for a solution, and it must be solutions protecting the orcas.
Absolutely. And I hope, Pierre and Giles, that you get invited to more conversations about this, along with the people that are there, who the sailors, the people who are, because I don't know, are they going to hear that? I don't know. April hopefully can maybe be a link for us to get in touch with, that group of folks who are out there on the water, to be able to give some of these ideas to try, because they too may not have heard about the pilot whales and the just really having, you guys are the experts, and so having a conversation amongst you guys and the boaters, I think, would be fabulous. And I'll do my best to make that happen soon here, or on another platform, but just to link people together, because they need protection, and they need protection from people and the media as well, is my belief. Howard, Susan was messaging that there might be a video. Do you want to say anything about that? You're on mute. You're still on mute. Let's see.
Still on mute. Well, I was just trying to queue up that video. I have it actually up and running. If I can share screens, maybe I can show it. It's a 5-minute video. We've got about 5 minutes left in TokiTV for the day. But I could maybe show it if I can share screen.
I could show it. I think I have it loaded. I just wasn't sure. So they were actually, this is from 2 years ago, right? From Orca Awareness Month. Do you want to preface the video?
Well, I don't remember it. But Susan is telling me, so why doesn't Susan come over and tell everybody? Come on over, Susan.
Hey, Susan.
Yeah, come on, come on.
Okay, and my apologies, I didn't realize this was the topic. So this was from Orca Month 2 years ago, and Giles might remember. It was a researcher who was talking when this behavior was just starting, and it's closed caption. She's a little hard to understand, but it was about the tuna fisheries. It was just starting, and they had moved the fisheries closer to land, I believe. So the orca attacks were happening. And I'm not remembering everything, so I'm anxious to see it again. But it seemed like they were starting to attack the sailing vessels more, as well as the fishing boats, because it was easier for them to get the tuna from the fishing boats, because the tuna, were anyway. It's the researcher talking about it and their hypothesis of why this was happening. So I'll let her explain it because it's been 2 years and she does it much better than I do. But it's totally relates to this and their hypothesis 2 years ago, before it's gotten much worse.
Okay, well let's check it out. And as you guys know, on TokiTV, we go until we're done. So it's okay.
Yeah, and I think it will be helpful.
So let me go ahead and
so sorry to put things off on a different rail, but I think this will be helpful.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. And let's get this up and then we'll talk about it. So, go here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rosa Esteban, and I'm a marine mammal researcher at the Madeira Whale Museum. I'm going to introduce you to the killer whales of the Strait of Gibraltar, an endangered subpopulation which is now famous because it's interacting with the vessels. We did a present pseudo-arson model, and the spring model predicted that the most important area for the killer whales was the western part of the Strait of Gibraltar. So if the killer whales try to follow the tuna in deep waters, tunas can escape going to deeper waters, and killer whales are not, as they are not deep divers, they cannot follow them to the deep. In the other hand, in shallow water, the killer whales are able to follow the tunas for up to 30 minutes until the tunas get tired and they can capture them. It is in summer season when we observe the killer whales most of the time interacting with a long-line fishery in the central waters of the Strait of Gibraltar, where the killer whales capture the tuna from the long lines of the fishermen. And in this case, the fishery will make these tunas that normally cross the strait in deep waters more accessible to the killer whales, being in this case a hunting technique with a low expenditure of energies. Furthermore, in 2019, this subpopulation was categorized as critically endangered by the IUCN Red Dot list of threatened species. 2020 arrived, a year of changes, in many ways for human, but also for this subpopulation. After the almost worldwide lockdown, a disruptive behavior was observed, in which these killer whales were reported interacting with boats, actively entering in contact with the vessels, particularly with sailing vessels, resulting mainly in breaking the moving parts of their rudders. In the middle of all that craziness, we created a working group formed by the NGOs, whale watching companies, and administrations as a result of previously existing collaboration, and with a willing of giving response to this unprecedented situation. First, I'm going to show you one of the first interactions that happened in the Strait of Gibraltar. As you can see, the pilot was trying to control the vessel, taking control of the wheel until he got his shoulder damaged and left the wheel loose. The animals took control of the rudder and turned the boat almost 360 degrees. The animals are normally at the center of the boat, as you could see, really close to the hull, showing off apparently some assignment. And sometimes they do an intense babbling that you're going to see in a second there. In this case, they were lucky and nothing happened to the boat, and even the skipper recovered well soon after. In this case, I let the sun. You're going to know why. Yeah, because they were bumping the rudder pretty hard. This is why it is important to leave the wheel loose. these animals ended, in this case, the animals ended breaking the spades of the rudder in half, as you can see in these pictures. In this other case, you can see how the animals are kind of calm as the boat is almost stopped. They were not going that fast. Also, they were already bumping the rudder, but they are mostly, as you can see, inspecting the stern. This was one of the worst cases. It occurred completely during night. The animals were for an hour with the boat and almost constantly bumping the boat really actively. So you can understand the stress of the crew in this case. The animals broke the rudder, bending the rudder shaft with an angle of almost 90 degrees, as you can see here in this picture. This is another sample of a reef where the animals were only touching the floater, as you will see now. There you have it. And so far, we could identify 2 interacting groups. In this one, in particular, the active animals are the juveniles, while the others stay away from the boat. And these are the numbers that we were able to gather, but we do still believe that there are more cases that we don't know about. In summary, there has been 72 interactions, which in average were 20 minutes long. And this is the action plan that we designed based on the videos and the testimonies of the crews. Basically, we suggest to stop the vessel whenever it is possible. Of course, there are situations that cannot be. Contact the authorities, leave the wheel loose, and when the animals stop interacting and they have been bumping for a while, check the integrity of the rudder and ask for a tow if and that's it. I would like to thank everyone that has contributed somehow in this study. This is coming from a team effort, and also I would like to thank the Orca Network for inviting us to present this to you and to all of you for assisting in this. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
All right. Yes, that's very relevant, Susan. Thank you. It's interesting seeing the graphic. It was exactly what Pierre was talking about how they were using the boats to catch the tuna because it's a big process to catch them. Pierre, what do you think about that video?
Yeah, I must say that the Spanish group, expert group, is very, very good. They are doing a great job, and it's very difficult to work with this orca. It's few orcas. Now, some people say 35 orcas. I've read some publication mentioning 70 something, but still it's a very, very small population, and the area is huge all around Spain, southwest of France, north of Spain, and down to Gibraltar Strait. So even if you go for it, you will probably spend 1 year without seeing the orcas there. It's very difficult to find the orcas. They find you, actually. So to work with this orca population and to have enough data to make science, it's very difficult to collect, to sample the biopsies or stuff like that. Is very difficult. So I think that it's going to take time to have all this information. So yeah, we have to see how this behavior will turn, how it will evolve. I strongly hope that they will stop. We see that it's a young guys, and I hope that one day it will stop. The young guys, they will get old like all of us, and if they don't transmit this to the new generation, maybe it will stop. I strongly hope, because we know how we humans, you can educate 95% of the skippers with good behavior, to be tolerant, to be okay. If you have 5% of the skippers who are bad guys and they shoot orcas, it's going to be a disaster. And this, we cannot avoid that. So I'm really concerned for this population. I'm really afraid about this issue, and I'm praying for this behavior to stop. And then, the orca, they can sneak, and they can it's going to be the best way to protect them, the orcas there. So
thank you.
But still fascinating. If I was in the boat, I would be in the water in 10 seconds, for sure, just to see how it is. And I know they will not touch people in the water, 100%.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Giles, any thoughts on that video or closing thoughts?
I'm sorry, I'm having so many technology issues today. I'm really sorry about that. Susan, thank you so much. I had completely forgotten about that. I remember speaking with her on the phone, Ruth on the phone that year, and before she presented it at for us, and it was shocking. And like Pierre said earlier, if anybody had asked me, 3-4 years ago, if this was a possibility, I would have said absolutely not. And so just that it's so many incidences now, and so many, it seems like every week there's just kind of a doubling. And I'm hopeful that it's a fad that will pass along and out of the population as a behavior. And yeah, just we'll keep monitoring, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you. Mute you there, Giles. I'm not sure if our connection is it's better than last week. It cut off on us last week mid-show and it was like, but yeah, I do too. And I think, hopefully we'll have more conversation. I think April is going to do what she can do to join us next week. So if you guys want to come back on to continue with that conversation with somebody who's there and has had that experience.
Look at this question. Sorry to interrupt you. Look at this question. Do you think the vibration of the rudder are similar to tuna movement? This is very interesting because it's mentioning the concept of the vibration, and the orcas are very sensitive to the vibration. It's something very special for them. So there is maybe something like this. Thank you for the question, Facebook user. Sorry for that.
I want to know, that's good, and I want to see who that is, because if they're not registered on StreamYard, it won't tell me. But I think that might have been Russell. I'm not sure who posed that question, but whoever did, say your name. Say your name there in the comments. And I had heard that maybe they were training to catch fish and using the rudder. I heard because of the movements, but I had not heard because of the vibration. So that's pretty cool. Oh, it was Wendy. It was Wendy from Wales who posed that question. So that's, again, I think just the speculation, the more conversation, the more solutions that people can come up with. And that's what we're all about. Before I give you guys a little update on Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut on Toki, Howard, is there anything you want to say to close out this conversation on your end?
Nothing short.
Nothing short. You'll save it for next week, or
maybe next week. Yeah. I've got a lot that I would like to say, but I probably shouldn't anyway. So let's go on. What's the update?
So the update, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut is doing well. Everything is going well, and they have started to introduce the stretcher to her, at least visually right now. So, wait, let me unmute everyone so everyone can celebrate together.
But how is it going? I mean, do we have any idea of how she is responding to the stretcher in the water?
Well, is what I'm told. Yes, visually this past week, the stretcher's there where she can see it, and I'm not seeing notice that having an adverse reaction to it. So friends of Toki for sharing that information and letting us share that as well. Anything to do with the stretcher is good news. Get her used to that so she can get more comfortable with it. And yay, thank you guys for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it, and being able to share that with all of you. So ta-da, that's the latest, literally the latest that just came through right now. So again, thank you, friends at Toki, Dolphin Company, everyone who's sharing this information. We really do. Yeah, so thank you. Hands up to you guys for sure. Alejandro, what do you want to say about that?
Well, we had to leave the Orcas alone. It's their territory. So my suggestion for these people who is in the sea has to have an orca insurance and helicopter to escape.
Yeah, I mean, get a helicopter. There you go, Alejandro.
It's their territory, We have captured many orcas in the past. Now it's time for them to we have to pay some karma, It's karma. It's about karma. That's the answer.
Just love you, Alejandro. Giles apologized. Her audio went completely out, so she had to jump off. But we're going to continue this conversation. But Alejandro, what do you think about what I just announced about the stretcher training for Toki?
So, what kind of question is that? I feel excited. I feel so happy. I see Toki just in the stretcher, just going like this, going to the plane. Yeah, what kind of question? I'm so happy.
You gotta get a handkerchief.
Thank you, Pierre, for showing us. I appreciate so much. I know you for so long. Thank you for showing us, Pierre.
You're awesome, Pierre. We really do appreciate you. And yes, I don't know if I'm going to say your name correctly, Nadi Sullivan. We do meet every week, same time on YouTube and Facebook. So 1:00 Pacific time. We'll be here every single week, and we have been for the last year and I don't know, 4 months now, 3 months? I don't know. It's been a while.
We need to tell the people that to buy the T-shirt. We put the website. I'm getting the T-shirt. Everybody need to wear this. Just TokiTV is using the stretcher now, so everybody need to have one. Go to the website. Yeah. Don't be selfish and buy one.
Oh my
but there's not just T-shirts, Alejandro. There's other stuff.
There's cups. We've got cups. We've got stickers.
Yes, everyone.
This is all very, very cool. But what's the most cool about it is Casey is doing all this work. Thank you, Casey. All proceeds, like legit, literally all proceeds from these sales are going to the GoFundMe for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. So Casey, thank you for your time and your dedication for bringing that. And everyone's running around with their shirts. It's very, very cool. Pierre, send me your shirt size on Messenger, please, and your address so we can get you one of these very cool shirts. I guess
large is okay.
You got it. Okay, send me your.
You are in shape. You are in shape. Not like me. You are in shape. I am extra weight. I had to lose weight. I need to be ready. I need to be ready for a celebration when TokiTV gets released. So I want to look nice.
I want to hear from Christina on the stretcher training, or any the whole show. The new info. I'm sorry, I'm a little jazzed about getting that info. So, what do you want to say, Christina?
I want to say that's the most beautiful news. It's like the meditation the other night when she was just sliding right into the stretcher, and so it's heartwarming and tears of happiness, and I think it's the most wonderful news ever. And she's coming home. And as far as the orcas, I tend to agree with Howard. And I feel that, there's just more and more people in the world, in the ocean, and it's their ocean. It isn't ours. And we're going into their living room, as Giles said, and we just have to figure out a way to be with them. And, I guess I feel like we need to stop overfishing, and we have lots of things to eat here on the land, but they don't. So that's, to me, the bottom line, that we need to give the ocean a break and give the inhabitants what they need to flourish in the ocean. So thank you.
Awesome. Deborah.
I believe exactly the same as Christina. TokiTV is a miracle whale. I would expect nothing less for her to just swim right into that sling and say, "Where's it been, people?" and also the thing about the ocean, it is their space. And this is just more and more evidence of people, human beings, treating their space with total lack of respect. You know, how would you feel if someone came flying into your dining room table and stole your dinner off the table? You'd be a little pissed off. So respect, people. Let's respect others with respect. So, soapbox, sorry.
Thank you. And Nadi Sullivan was asking about Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut about are they lowering the water temperature? They have been, just so you know. So the temperature is at optimal in the range that they have been shooting for, and comparable to the Salish Sea. So yeah, those chillers have been in and working and running, and so her water temperature has been being dropped. Thank you for that really important question.
Can you mention the temperature, Howard? The temperature of the water?
What here? In Salish
Yeah,
Sea?
no. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's about 50.
50. I thought it was
48
53.
to 50 degrees.
I got it.
So it's very comparable. She'll be ready. No, she'll be
Okay.
very comfortable when she comes back. No shock at all.
That's great. Great.
The last trimester.
Awesome. One more thing to add. You guys are going to see that there's some stuff on social media. You have to be careful what you read, but there's this new thing going around that the whale bowl has to be vacated. It has to be vacated by October or something. I read, and I just verified that there was absolutely no truth to that. So, do you guys see that? Just go ahead and dismiss that. Casey and Stephanie, what are your thoughts on the show and on the news?
Well, the news is fabulous, right? So we're stoked. Such good news for this day. I also feel like, wow, this is really scary for those orcas over there because, as we know, as you know, Pierre says, I mean, there have been many times where Casey and I have said, hey, let's jump off the boat and get in the water with these whales because we're just not afraid of them. But to think that people have guns and they're out there shooting at them, that just breaks my heart. Yeah. And I think that we really need to come up with something to stop this, you know? The media needs to focus on what people can do in their boats, like stop the boat. I mean, there were different things that woman said, but yeah, I think we need to come up with some solutions and stop with the guns, people. Come on, you know, that's just not kosher. Yeah. And this is their world. It's not ours. It's their space. Let them have it and stop overfishing and taking all their fish. Same with the southern residents, right? There's not enough salmon for them to eat. So these poor guys down in the Gibraltar area have no tuna to eat. So you know, we just, it's a worldwide problem. Humans just have to stop being so selfish. End of story. And I'm done.
That's a very good story, Stephanie. Thank you.
Okay.
I love it. Casey's just cracking up.
I've been waiting for her to start bawling her eyes out.
Deb Cruz.
Well, good news with Toki. That's exciting.
Very exciting.
And I'm wondering what her reaction is, and if she can make the connection that this is something that's really significant. And hope she does. As far as the Iberian orcas, I think plead patience, plead observation, to wait and see exactly what it is they're doing. And the media, instead of focusing and sensationalizing it, can spend more time on the story of the orcas, their history,
right,
the issues around tuna, and the lack thereof, why they're an endangered species, and to focus on some of these other things that might help not demonize the orcas, because there's too many people have watched Jaws, you know, and that's probably what they're thinking. And it's no, come on, it's a lot more sophisticated than that. Or it could be simply they're playing, you know, but I think time and patience and observation on that.
Thanks, Deb Cruz. And you know, this what this group and all of you watching and listening can do, find those quotes from the sailors who are actually on there, the actual people who are experiencing this, and share their experience so that it's not sensationalized and it's not, and hear what these people are saying about, we have to, they're professionals. That's like what April said, is we're professionals, and they honor and they respect the water that they're in. And that's the message we need to keep sharing out there. And why are they saying this? Why are they doing this? We don't know. And we should absolutely, they deserve the time and attention for that to be looked at and discussions to happen. But more importantly, what can we do to protect them through all of this? I think is just fabulous. So for those of you still watching, those of you on TikTok, I'm going to put April. We know how to thank people from TokiTV. So if you go on TikTok, go to @AprilBoyes. It's AprilBoyes. Thank her for the message that she is spreading. Go follow her. TikTok, people like followers, so go follow her on TikTok and give her lots of thanks for the beautiful message that she's changing. The narrative and the message that she's getting out there to protect them. So thank you, April. You're going to see a lot more followers on your TikTok soon, and we hope to have you on next week. And let's close with you, Pierre. What are your thoughts on what I just shared about Toki being checking out the stretcher so she can get used to that?
I keep a finger crossed for Toki to go back in her waters, close to her family, and that would be more than a good news. It would be a symbol. It's something. I have no words to explain what I feel about that, but after 50 years in prison, it's priceless to feel the freedom, to feel the back to the family. It's something very special. So I'm just praying for this to happen. So I would like to thank all of you guys. What you're doing is just fantastic. And we humans, we have the power. We have all power. We have the power to damage the ocean, but we have the power to protect the orcas and all the marine life. It's just a choice. And I'm really proud of you because you made a good choice. So thank you for that.
So awesome, Pierre. Thank you. Thank you. Howard, I'm going to let you close us out tonight.
Uh-oh. Well, been
I love putting Howard on the spot.
Well, this has really sort of sparked a lot of curiosity and interest, and orcas are wondrous, and they make us wonder. And I'm doing a lot of wondering, and we all are. And I think that's a great outcome. And I do think all of it builds empathy and understanding. And I so agree with Deb that I wish the media would tell more about the orcas, not just those actions that they're doing with the boats, but what about them? Give us some natural history. Give us some population, history and demographics, and tell it like it is. I'd like to know more about them. So maybe that's where we're going. Okay, that's my recommendation to come out of this. Let's learn more about the Iberian orcas so we can be smarter.
Absolutely. That's great advice. All right, guys, we'll see you guys on Thursday night for our collective prayer and meditation. And like Christina was just saying, or Deborah might have pointed it out, I'm not sure. That's exactly what we visualized on Thursday without knowing, is that the actual process of her coming home and starting with that stretcher. So I'm just so happy to hear. When we close, I'll probably do a little dance because we can't dance live until she's home. Alejandro and I promised everyone we were going to dance. So
No.
But I'm going to do a happy dance when we finish live, because every step, you guys, again, like they're doing the work every single day. And so I'm just so super excited that the stretcher is introduced, and because we all know what that means. she's coming home and she's getting closer. So love you guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Yeah, I'm going to play the farewell song as we close out and put our last comments up. Thank you guys very much.
Love you all.
Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut.